My name is Jim Myers. My wife Daphne and I own the Sasquatch Outpost, and we're knowers, we're not believers when it comes down to that. The store actually began as a grocery store. This store has always been a grocery store since it was built in 1878, so it's probably the oldest standing building in Bailey. Mom and pop grocery stores don't make it anymore. Now that there's a Safeway and a King Soopers and Conifer, everybody does their shopping there. So we were trying to decide what we were going to do with the store since the groceries weren't working. And during those 9 months, two significant things happened. One was I met my first eyewitness, Bigfoot eyewitness, who was a local. She ran a lodge just down the road a little ways. So businesswoman, totally normal, totally rational. And she and her best friend had seen a Bigfoot one evening. They were out for a walk and it ran down a hill next to them. And she described the experience for me, and I'd never actually talked to anyone who'd seen a Bigfoot. She definitely saw something that was not anything she'd ever seen. The second thing that happened was the Animal Planet show, Finding Bigfoot, came and did an episode here maybe a month later, largely because of her sighting. So I went to that filming. I sat in the front row, make sure I could see myself on TV, and there was about 7 or 8 people that got up and gave a testimony about seeing a Bigfoot somewhere in Colorado, mostly in this area. And I came back and I told my wife, I think we should try something.
Part of it really is this idea that the world is unexplored enough and wild enough that something like Bigfoot could be out there. Because if everything has already been so mapped out and tamed and pruned and paved over, that there really nothing else really remains for us to explore and find mystery in, it's kind of a sad world to live in. So I think that is definitely part of the appeal.
In general, this country is infatuated with Bigfoot in an enormous way. Just turn on cable TV and see how many programs there are on Bigfoot at any given time, how many t-shirts there are, bumper stickers. This little museum, we've probably, since we built it, I think we've had 35 or 40,000 people come through here. We built it in 2016. For a little one-horse town like Bailey, that's a lot of people. It's a passion, it's even an obsession, I would say. The Outpost side, the store side, is kitschy, fun, very tongue-in-cheek. Once you enter the museum, I'm dead serious about everything in the museum. Out here, we like to have fun with it, but when you come into the museum, I'm trying to scientifically, rationally present Bigfoot in a way that people would be convinced. And many people come in who are skeptics and they leave as believers from this museum.
I mean, there's just no getting around it. Whether you believe in Bigfoot, whether you're absolutely certain Bigfoot is real, whether you're just in it for the kitschy roadside attraction aspect, it's a lot of fun to go in there. The museum is fun to walk through and just sort of see the different stories and the accounts that people have had and the sort of historic appearance of Bigfoot through Colorado's history. There's that map with all the sightings that people have pinpointed on there. You can get your picture taken with Bigfoot. It's a lot of fun. And I think that is one of the things about Bigfoot. It is a very fun thing to embrace and want to believe in and participate in.
They look through this store, they buy souvenirs that are fun, funny. They come in the museum and they walk out saying, whoa, I didn't know all that evidence existed. I believe in God and I believe in Bigfoot, but there is actual physical evidence for Bigfoot that most people don't know about. Whereas for God, the evidence is all emotional and spiritual. I would even say circumstantial, that things happen to people that they'll attribute to God, but with Bigfoot, there's actual physical evidence. There's footprints, there's visual sightings, there's audio recordings, and I'm talking in the thousands, the evidence for Bigfoot. So people who say I don't believe in Bigfoot but do believe in God, I challenge them because I say, your belief in God, which I share, is very emotionally based, so therefore I believe it takes more faith to believe in God than it does to believe that Bigfoot is that they are real living creatures. I went fishing early in the morning one morning. Everybody in the campsite was asleep as far as I knew, about 6 a.m. And while I'm fishing, I'm looking around, and Wellington Lake has a big rock mountain at one end of it that is called the Castle. And so I'm looking around, I'm looking up at the castle while I'm fishing, and I look down and there's a big rock outcropping up on the hill above me. And all of a sudden I see something standing up there looking down. Now, based on the time of day it was, on the location where this creature was standing, which is extremely difficult to get to. I've been up there and you have to climb on your hands and knees to get up there. It's so steep. And I saw it, and it was uniform in color. It was very large. And again, it was looking down, not necessarily looking at me, but just looking down. And right then a fish tugged on my line, so I turned to look to see if I had a fish, and I looked back and it was gone. It was just that fast. It was there and it was gone. The vast majority of encounters, including my own with Bigfoot, may be frightening because it's something we don't know. We can't see them, particularly at night. So it's scary in that we don't know what's going to happen. But I've been doing this for 8 years. I've never been harmed. No researcher that I know has ever been harmed. We've all been scared at times. I think they're mostly curious and, even, if I could use this word, compassionate towards humans, in that I have encountered, I have stories of them healing people. It's hard to reconcile a healer and a murderer in the same creature. And so, but I do believe that every Sasquatch is unique, just like we are as people. I do believe that at least some of the people who've gone missing in this country in national parks and national forest has to be attributed to Bigfoot. I can't think of any other explanation. I do personally think there is a conspiracy of silence on the part of some government agencies like the Parks Board regarding Sasquatch.
My feeling is, if Bigfoot existed in the parks, I just don't see how the Park Service could keep something like that a secret, or why they would want to. I could see wanting to protect the species, maybe only letting a limited number of people in to see it so you don't disturb habitat. But I don't see there being any particular reason to keep it hidden.
I fully expect in the next 12 to 24 months, something's going to come out, whether it be from the National Forest Service, national parks, stating that Bigfoot exists, that they know they exist, that Bigfoot, if they're willing to admit it, is responsible for people disappearing and never being found. I know for a fact that some of the national forests, the larger ones, are tracking sightings of Bigfoot by their rangers and firefighters. One of the largest national forests in Oregon, they have a questionnaire that they have their wildland fire teams fill out, that when they have seen a Bigfoot or found a Bigfoot body, they have to fill it out. And it says at the top of the form, don't bother submitting joke reports, we're not going to enter them in the database. So there is a database, and if that national forest is tracking them, they can't be the only one. There have to be more that are doing that.
The political turmoil of the past 4 years has felt very destabilizing for a lot of people. And just in general, I think there's a feeling that the economic situation in the world is really benefiting a very small few handful of people, which there's some truth to that. And that also feels destabilizing. And people are looking for other answers. They're looking away from traditional authority figures because they don't necessarily feel that those authority figures have done justice to them or served their purposes or been on their side.
I would say that I've seen, or at least met more people who are conspiracy theorists in the last year. I think some of that has to do with the current administration's way of handling some things. I'm surprised by some of the people who are conspiracy theorists, who, ironically, many of them tend to be Bigfoot people and conspiracy theorists, but they've always been that way as far as I've known. They're very much into the QAnon. They're very much into all the secret societies and child slavery conspiracies, et cetera, et cetera. And they happen to be Bigfoot researchers at the same time. We live in a day and time when conspiracies are vogue. That's all I can say about Bigfoot or about anything else.
I think there's this hope that there's more to the world, the universe, the galaxy than what we currently know.